Welcome to another edition of the Film Room. I'm Brian Johannes, and on this episode, we're going to take a look at Central Arkansas cornerback Robert Rochell. If you're new to these, what I like to do is I like to take a look at a game or a few games of the prospect to kind of highlight the type of player that they are, especially as they transition into the NFL. So let's go ahead. Let's take a look at Central Arkansas's Robert Rochell, and get a look at one of the best FCS players in the nation. Robert Rochell, the first thing to me that stands out is he looks like a prototypical press man corner. And he lines up here on the left-hand side. He's the left outside cornerback. And you'll see him lined up predominantly in press man coverage, but he'll also do a lot of bail techniques. And the reason why I say he's a true press man corner is he's so apt at playing up at the line and then just being able to turn and run. And so you see there he's able to take a step out as the wide receiver goes with outside leverage, and then he's able to spin back inside, stick right with that receiver as he works downfield. We see that again on this play. He's up here at the top, up in press man coverage, and he's able to once again just stick with that receiver. Yes, he gets a little hands with him, but he's got that speed, and he's just got that ability to just stick right in that receiver's hip pocket, in and out of those breaks, especially working downfield. We see one more clip of it, just being able to flip those hips and just turn and run. He's got that speed along with his height, along with his length, that playing in that press and turning and running with those receivers, he's able to lock them up on his side of the field. Now, Rochell is much more than just turning and running. He does do a good job of stopping and starting. His fluidity and change of direction is also at a high level. As we see on this clip, the wide receiver is going to run a hook route, and as he's able to turn, he's able to see that this receiver is going to be breaking down, and he's able to stop and stick right with him. Because as you can see right here, just turns, and yeah, he doesn't stick completely on him, but he's still in a position right there where he would be able to make a play on the ball. We see it later on in the game too, along the goal line. This receiver's going to run an in-breaking route, and he's able to just, once again, turn with him and then read it and come right back. As we see right here, he's in a position. If this ball was to be thrown, he's in a position right there to get his hand in and break up that pass. So we've seen Rochell's ability to turn and run out of press coverage, his ability to stop and break with the receivers on underneath type routes. What I want to show here is just his instincts and his able to read this receiver. Now, on this play, nothing much is going to happen. He's going to run out of press, and it's going to be kind of it looks like a back shoulder throw. Okay? And the ball is off. There was some miscommunication. Nothing really happened, but you notice how he was stuck with him. But on this very next play, he reads that. Okay, we just saw this back shoulder type fade, this hook type route. So then after reading that last hook, back shoulder type fade, Rochell's able to read this play, see that this quarterback's going right there again, and then he's able to sit and jump this route, causing the quarterback to have to look the other way. So that just once again shows his instincts in reading the play. Now, Rochell's much more than just a press man corner. That's where I see him having his best success. Here, he's able to show his ability to fall into zone. They're going to run, this slot receiver is going to run out, and he's able to just kind of open up, see this receiver coming, read the play, and just fall into zone, covering him up and playing there. We see that once again, one of the first plays of the game. He's out here on the left-hand side, just dropping back into zone and kind of falling and covering up that receiver right there. Now, one thing I did want to show you on this play, and it's one of the weaknesses. So I've shown all these good strengths and great things about Rochell. There's a few things that jumped out to me that were a little bit that he needs to improve on. And one of them was this same play, and he lunged on this press. You didn't see him press much. He lined up in press, but it was more of a shadow press. Here he goes to jam this receiver, ends up getting caught lunging, which didn't really factor because he was dropping back in the zone. It didn't affect it. We saw it on this play too. He's down here. He's going to lunge on his, and he doesn't totally lunge, but it does get him off balance a little bit. And you see that he kind of tends to do it when he's in zone coverage. I think if he's going to have success in the NFL pressing, he does need to get better at that. He's not an overly physical cornerback. We see here on a play, he's going to kind of run a bail and have to come up to make a tackle. He does show that he's squaring him up, puts his shoulder into him, and looks to wrap up. But he never, it's not that he didn't shy away from contact, but he was never really involved and didn't look overly physical. And as in press, he's going to have to, especially going up against bigger receivers, have to get a little physicality. So that's something that I'm going to kind of keep an eye on as I continue to break him down into the 2020 season and eventually as we lead up to the 2021 NFL Draft. Overall, there's so much to like about Robert Rochell as an NFL draft prospect, as a cornerback prospect. He's got the size, 6'2", 195 pounds, that you want out of a press corner. He's tall, he's long, he's got what looks to be elite speed and quickness at the position. I know he made Bruce Feldman's freaks list based off of his speed and explosion. So he's got the testing numbers. That's where Bruce gets those. He shows up on tape. You can see his speed. Here's a guy that reminds me a lot. He's not as physical, but he reminds me a lot of A.J. Terrell, who came out of Clemson, was drafted in the top 20 by the Atlanta Falcons. His physicality is not where A.J. Terrell's was, but his body type, his speed resembles that a lot of me. It'll be anxious to see how he does in 2020. It's an up in the air type season with everything that's going on. Playing in the FCS, does that get moved to the spring? Do they even play? I would love to see him play again, and there's more tape for me to see of him, but he's got a lot of potential. Based on how good he is, teams don't throw the ball to him a ton, so he doesn't have a whole lot of pass breakups, but he does have 9 career interceptions. He had 5 last year in 2019, 4 in 2018, so he has shown the ability to make plays. The game against Hawaii, the ball only got thrown to his side 2, maybe 3 times, and a lot of times is when he was playing off coverage and he had to come up, so you didn't see him play the ball a lot, but the fact that he's got those interception numbers is something that is intriguing. I could see, based off his athletic traits, his potential. It wouldn't shock me if he's a first-round pick, especially with how far corners tend to get pushed up. But I think at this point, to me, he's a day 2 pick, a high day 2 pick. But I think in a press team that runs a lot of press man coverage, they're going to really like him. And, he's definitely one of my favorite guys that I've seen so far. If you haven't already done so, if you like what you've seen, make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you haven't followed me on Twitter, it's draft_Brian. I put out all my clips, post all my articles, so make sure you're doing that. If you haven't followed my Instagram, once again, that's at draft_Brian as well. I like to do a lot of my player profiles, so I'll string together, several clips, and then I can give a little bit more detailed explanation. So if you follow me on all channels, so YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, make sure you're getting those. That's the best way to get them. Thanks for listening. Until next time.